Hey, everyone. We are back with a new video. Let's begin. Sihan looks at the two lieutenants walking away through his window, thinking of how they've won them over using their weaknesses and moral obligations as an excuse. He is interrupted by Alita, speaking with her mouth stuffed on how they've got two Black Lion Knights on their team, which is an achievement for them. But Sihan just stands there unamused as he deadpans on when did Xion and Alita even come here and when did they start eating. Busy in devouring the food, Alita replies that they came to eat after escorting Prince Ains out. Meanwhile, Xion praises Keltrin's chef, who replies proudly about being very picky about the chef, since he had encounters with a lot of bad-tasting food during the revolutionary phase. Xion thinks to himself about how even this great food could get better but doesn't speak his thoughts out. On the table, Sihan and Keltrin discuss about the two new commanders. Since only 2 of the 6 captains were left and the 2 had similar skills, so they were given the posts of commander and vice commander, effectively. And even in this conversation, the younger 2 question Sihan upon not trying lobster, but Sihan replies pleasantly this time that it's his favorite, so he's keeping the best for the last. Keltrin briefs Sihan later about their coup d'etat going great, with many people joining them, making it crystal clear that Jexengord was making a lot of people suffer because of him, and Prince Ain's support is making things easier and faster for them. Keltrin, with deep thought, shares with Sihan that they'll be needing Viscount Crumble on their side for this coup d'etat to succeed. Sihan is concentrated on the name that is referred to as the second symbol of the kingdom. Keltrin tells Sihan that he's one of the wealthiest who owns businesses all over the kingdom, and his support can make things much smoother for them. Sihan thoughtfully says that it might be hard to win him over then, but Keltrin assures him that they're already more than halfway into convincing him, and the only thing left is a little personal favor Viscount needs from him. Sihan sips on his tea, questioning the favor, which turns out to be asking Alita to tutor his youngest daughter as a sword hire. Sihan's classic reaction, portraying not expecting such a favor, was spitting the tea out of his mouth in shock, since Alita is not ranked higher enough to be a tutor. Keltrin explains that it's still impressive to be on her rank at such an age. Keltrin reasons Sihan that the daughter doesn't have a master at the moment, halting any progress in her skills, and usually it is preferred to have a woman teach another woman unless a master exists in close family. Keltrin adds that he must have noticed Alita as his guard knight to be asking for her. Sihan thinks of the fact that there's less female knights in Terranor, and Viscount Crumble must be pretty desperate in need of a master for his daughter. Keltrin then makes Sihan recall that he has in fact met the youngest daughter as she accompanied them in the cult expedition. Sihan suddenly recalls and exclaims that it was Dina, the one who hit Keltrin in the head to get rid of his whining. Keltrin, not remembering anything, blankly stares at Sihan, who stammers, waving the statement off. Alita herself is surprised at such a request, but Sihan consoles her that it won't be a problem if she rejects the offer. Alita, now knowing Viscount has already agreed to be a part, asks what's in merit for them then. Sihan tells her it's not much, since it's actually Viscount's wife, Salit, who's influential even outside of Terranor due to her wealthy background. And this can be convenient for them to establish influential connections and move around Terranor. Alita is surprised at the details Sihan got for all this, to which Sihan, flustered, points towards this being Keltrin's words. Alita's next concern are the risks involving this deal, to which Sihan points out that their identities can get revealed, which would be more problematic for Alita provided her bloodline. Alita thinks over it for a moment and then confidently agrees to the situation. Alita then shares the deep insight her dad Karen shared with her about doubt, and not trusting someone being 2 different things, as doubts makes you want to understand and learn about the other person, while rash trust towards someone is an equivalent to not trusting them. So one should keep trying to learn about the next person. This makes Sihan go back to all his memories of blindly trusting his friend's words, making him stumble on the realization of failing to notice the reality of the situation with them. He also feels disappointed in himself, thinking maybe it was something stupid by him that led to them being against him. Sihan is brought out of his gloomy bubble by Alita, so he shifts his mood and tell her to go meet Dina then and see if they can trust her. Dina enthusiastically meets Alita, determined to be a good student to her, while Alita stands there nervous and flustered at the situation. Sihan and Xian, in the background, discuss how Dina seems way too high on energy for someone whose last option was Alita. While Dina follows Alita with a shady smile, knowing it was all her scheme behind getting Alita to teach her because for some reason, she's been obsessed with Alita. She practically begged her father to get Alita to teach her. Hence, Dina Crumble becomes a disciple to Alita. If you are new to the channel, I got you covered with all good content like this, so feel free to hit that subscribe button and join us on the road to greatness. And if you enjoy the video or if you found it interesting, let me know by dropping a like and comment on it as well, which would be seriously appreciated. Let's continue. Alita practices in front of Dina, who literally looks at Alita with hard eyes, obsessing over how cool she finds her, while Alita just seems uncomfortable with all that obsession. Everyone's thought process can be seen in a loop to be exactly similar. Dina fantasies about Alita's fighter rank and how she aspires to be of that rank where she can level out of metal armors. Meanwhile, Alita looks at Xian practicing and fantasizes being able to be of the knight rank where she can power her metal weapons. And then we have Xian's thinking process while observing Sihan that a master rank can strengthen any material and not just metal, and how he wishes to reach that. The three sigh in sync, each on their own wishes, while Sihan just looks at the three extremely baffled at what just happened. Alita questions Sihan about whether it's better for a transcendent and higher rank to wear a metal armor or not out of curiosity. Sihan, not understanding her random questions, nevertheless tells her that the ranks use energies in different ways. A knight rank can enhance the strength of the metal armor, and a master rank can create the same amount of strength in normal clothes too, but for transcendent rank they can use the material's energy, along with fighting energy to enhance it even more. But there's a drawback to this, that the weight of the material matters when using it in transcendent rank, so every such ranked higher uses the material according to their strategy of fighting. Metal armored is preferred when one is focused on strength when fighting, and light armor is used when one uses speed as their fighting strategy. Alita, lost in thoughts, mentions that she'll be using light armor then, which makes Sihan laugh at her, telling her to first reach the rank, and then think of such stuff, embarrassing the poor enthusiastic girl. Sihan then recalls his armor called a magic armor Louvresque he used to wear and wonders what must have happened to it. Alita recognizes it alongside his hitherto famous magic sword disaster and cape of the red dragon, and jokes about it also belonging to some obsessed fan of his, referring to a certain memory involving his underwear. But Sihan is more focused on thinking that surely his former friends must have taken that stuff, making him feel annoyed at them once again. He thinks of asking Keltron to look into it later. He then announces the end of training and walks off, while Alita calls him Ayat, asking about his energy returning. He tells her that indeed it is coming back to its normal strength confidently, but thinks to himself that only his fighting energy is recovering back at a normal pace. The speed of recovery of his magical energy is getting slower, making him worry about it. While Sihan and his team trained harder, Keltron also worked harder and harder. His job being sucking up to Jexengord more and more during the day, and then dealing with people for their coup d'état during the night. He would call for nobles and past revolutionists and try and convince them to join their coup d'état. Many joined while many tried to back out and watch the show from afar, but you don't get to have a way when you've got someone as persuasive as Keltron. Holding everyone's records and his position in Jexengord's sight against everyone, he almost forced many people to join their cause and work for them. In Sihan's words, it's because evil understands evil. Keltron happily tells Sihan that he was able to convince many people to fight for justice and risk their lives, but Sihan puts his exaggerations to an end, telling him to not use the term justice around the people they just persuaded. Keltron darkly shares with Sihan how bribes seem delicious when having them, but they end up ruining one's organs, so all those people are serving due to their greed for bribes. This just makes Sihan notice the irony of such words coming from a person like Keltron. But Keltron waves it off, confident of having everything planned in case someone comes against him. Sihan, before leaving, once again warns Keltron of not trying anything funny after Ains becomes the king, since Sihan has an explosive aura placed in his chest, so betrayal to Sihan won't serve him well. But Keltron shows zero hesitation in telling Sihan that he has no plans of disobeying Sihan and actually wants to live a clean, better life now that would also serve well for the people of the kingdom. He tells Sihan that he's dreaming bigger now working for Sihan while before he worked how it was best to work for Jacksongord. Sihan smiles at Keltrin telling him he should have been like that from the start but of course that would have never helped him in front of Jacksongord. A flashback of the 6 leaders planning on betraying Sihan shows them discussing how Sihan would just be a dangerous subject for them once they succeed in defeating the Tyrant King, so they should fight and finish him after they're free from this. Everyone agrees to this while Jacksongord talks about liking Sihan as a friend. Others agree to him but also call Sihan dangerous and Jacksongord, being the thoughtless person, simply agrees to his friends not bothering about it and trusting their judgment since to him democracy is best when one's uncertain. The 6 of them are sure that no matter how much power Sihan has, he can't defeat if all 6 of them face him together. Karen agrees to this, adding that at least half of them can survive. After defeating them, making them rest actually get a bit nervous about their deed. Jacksongord wakes up wondering why he's been having such dreams about the past lately and blames it on the fact that he found Tyrant King Art's traces where Berkeley and lieutenants died. He thinks of why he's been having such thoughts lately, but then the random woman beside him wakes up and just like usual, Jacksongord lets go off the use of mind and distracts away. One of the servants addresses Jacksongord talking about having too many drinking parties, but Jacksongord simply tells him that it's not a party but mourning ceremony for Berkeley. The servant subtly mocks him about the memorial going on since a month, but another suck-up to Jacksongord, Commander Keller, raises another toast agreeing to Jacksongord about this must be making Berkeley's soul happy. Jacksongord is happy at the hire agreeing to him. Keltrin enters the king's palace and a bit too humbly greets Jacksongord, almost as if begging him for something, and tells Jacksongord that they found the rebel group who killed the knights and the person goes by the name, the Black Giant, and is one of the descendants of King Barak. Jacksongord is furious at this while Keltrin just butters him up about his insight being so good about thinking of the person relating to King Barak. Keltrin briefs Jacksongord about getting to know that about 800 rebels are confiding in the old castle in the Grand Region. Jacksongord praises Keltrin for his work and prepares to go deal with the rebels personally. Jacksongord addresses Keller, who immediately announces preparing all Lion Knights and 3,000 standby soldiers for this, but Keltrin is alarmed at this being such a large number that includes almost all the military power of Jacksongord that they obviously aren't ready to face yet. Keltrin, knowing Keller is just trying to impress Jacksongord, starts to calmly figure out a solution in his head and then suddenly exclaims praises for Keller on such a wise decision, surprising everyone around. Keltrin acts impressed, talking in exaggeration that their enemy must be too strong to be able to defeat Berkeley, and no one would find it strange if they moved their entire military power to go face those rebels. Keltrin's slick nose seems to work as Jacksongord's mind takes this act as a portrayal of them being scared to face the rebels, so he tells Keller to only arrange 50 knights and 1,000 soldiers for them. Keller is shocked at this and tries to justify the need to use all their power in this hunting, but Keltrin cuts him off, telling him to do just as Jacksongord told him to do since the rebels aren't some dangerous enemies, but little rabbits in front of them, the lions. Jacksongord sides with Keltrin and walks away while Keltrin, then coming back to his usual self, sucks up to Keller for not meaning to disobey him and uses the excuse of the budget, but Keller lets it go easily. Coming to the real plan, Keltrin asks Sihan to attack one of the lieutenants since half of them have been direct subordinates of Keller, so they'll get biased attention from Keller and that would serve as a problem as Ravel and Jordan won't be able to get much around Jacksongord. Keltrin decides to discreetly tell Keller in some way that he shouldn't be biased or partial. So they are going to be using Keller's position in this fight to teach him a lesson and take down one of the lieutenants. Sihan agrees to this and voices out his dark thoughts of breaking a leg of Keller, but that alerts both Alida and Keltrin, while Alida tells him that this would simply lead to them replacing the leader and their aim of bringing Jordan and Ravel ahead failing. Keltrin is surprised at Alida's words as if she belongs to some royal family, but Alida hurriedly excuses about reading this somewhere. Sihan knows Keltrin is not ordinary man, so he needs to keep an eye on him too. Jacksongord with his troop reach the old castle where the Black Giant refuses to surrender and calls Jacksongord a fallen king, which excited Jacksongord to face him knowing he can easily defeat him. Jacksongord tells Keller to let's go and attack, so Keller leaves the soldiers under Ravel and Jordan and follows the king. Everyone from the castle and the soldiers are impressed at Jacksongord using his giant fist in order to get a high jump and enter the castle on his horse. He warns the black giant to come out to offer his head to Berkeley's soul, while Zeon, playing the role of the black giant, knows that his role in this mind game is over now. A grinning Sihan in hiding with a nervous Keltron asks Keltron if they should begin the tiger hunt now. Subscribe to watch more videos like these, turn on notifications, and leave a like and comment to help the channel out. Thank you for watching and see you on the next part.